My name is Jenna Feist, and I will chair the meeting this evening. I'm a member of the Board of Directors of Penn South. I am not running for election this year. I am simply your host. Tonight's meeting will be videotaped for shareholders to view on RCN Channel 98 and on the Penn South website. This year, there are 6 candidates for 5 positions on the board. The candidates are, in alphabetical order, Phineas Antonovsky, Morris Benjamin, Martin DeCat, Becky Killey, Tracy Raposo Cook, and Robert Sikorsky. The first statement will be by Tracy Raposo Cook.
My name's Tracy Raposo Cook, and I hope that you vote for me for the Penn South Board of Directors. I'd like to think that I've earned your vote by my demonstrated dedication to improving lives of many people here at Penn South. I want to give you a little history about my community involvement. When I first moved into Penn South, I knew this was the place I was going to raise all of my children, grow old with my husband, and spend my final days. So since I knew I was going to be here for a long time, I wanted to make Penn South an even better place for all of our children to grow up in and the rest of us to grow old in as well. So I became president of the Penn South Parent Committee 8 years ago. At that time, there were no services or programs being offered to parents and children. And the programs offered in the surrounding neighborhoods were too expensive for most of us to join. So Becky Killey and I and the Penn South Parent Committee decided to make our own programs. And throughout the past 8 years, we have offered sports programs, programs for teens, classes of every kind a parent could want for their children, renovated the rec room, after-school programs, a wellness program, outdoor movie nights, annual events such as the Spring Candy Hunt, Halloween Bash, and the Penn South Flea Market. Sorry. I'm sorry. Not to mention our intergenerational barbecue that brings hundreds of people together to strengthen ties and build community spirit. As an active member of this community, I get to see and hear firsthand issues cooperators experience. And as a board member, I can help shape policies to reflect our concerns. I also advocate for cooperators who have individual problems. I listen to you with a sympathetic ear, and I speak on your behalf with a strong, independent voice. I know if I was not on the board, I would like to know that there was someone like me on it who would go to bat for me if I needed. Thank you.
Our second speaker will be Robert Sikorsky.
My name is Bob Sikorsky. I'm personally a member of the board, and I've had 2 terms on the board. I'm going for my 3rd term. My experience at Penn South started with the Co-op Council. I found the Co-op Council absolutely invaluable in learning about the nitty-gritty, the ins and outs of how Penn South works. One of the things that people don't really realize is how does the board work? And I get questions about that all the time. Everybody, we know we get the board minutes, but those final meetings when we have board meetings isn't everything about Penn South, and I've learned this over the years I've been on the board. We have extensive meetings of various committees, many of which are open to cooperators, about the elevators, when we put the elevators in, about the HVAC, about operations, and a lot of input is available and is sought from the cooperators, and we appreciate that input, and that's important to us. And eventually we come to make a decision at our board meetings, but at the board meetings when we make a decision, a lot has gone, a lot has been out there for consideration, and so it's been talked about. So what you see a lot of times is that most people agree on most of the votes, and people say, well, why do everybody agree? I said, that's because 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, we didn't agree, but we argued, discussed, and finally we came to a consensus on how things should be. And I think it's important everybody knows how the board works, and that's important. What's important right now for everybody is the HVAC program. Now, you know we're doing 3 single core buildings for HVAC, and we'll have another 2 core buildings on the way. There's some question as to whether we can do that faster or slower, but right now our plans are for two twin core buildings. HVAC is important because of the condition of the plumbing and air conditioning systems, the dual temperature lines that were leaking like crazy. When I first saw them, they looked like Swiss cheese, and it's something that we have to suffer. It's unfortunate that asbestos was involved. It's unfortunate we have to go through all these precautions, but this is a board that went through all the precautions. This is a board that obtained asbestos experts that created enclosed environments in every person's apartment around every line to make sure everybody was safe. That we have constant inspections and tests to make sure the air is clean. So this is a board, and not just me, but the whole board, that cares about the cooperators.
Our next speaker is Becky Kelly.
Hi, I'm Becky Kelly. I'm Vice President of the Penn South Parents Committee, where I've been an active member for the last 8 years. I work hard with Tracy Raposo Cook, and we've created a dynamic program for our community youth program. We went a step further, broadening our focus to include all of Penn South, creating several programs to enhance our entire community, including our well-attended co-op-wide barbecues, outdoor movie nights. Oh my God, you can't hear me. And the wellness and cooking classes for everyone here at Penn South. Tracy and I have worked with Penn South Senior Center hosting cross-generational events, including our 50th anniversary barbecue, which I'm sure many of you attended. I've gotten to know many of our seniors while I worked as an administrator with the Penn South, at Penn South with Nat Yalowitz, president of Penn South Social Services Board of Directors. He's about to step down, sadly. I helped Nat to successfully take our Penn South Social Services renowned HOPS program citywide to all 5 boroughs in order that every New York senior and actually non-seniors could take advantage of that program. While working with Nat, I really got to know the people at Penn South Social Services and most of our seniors that attended the Penn South Senior Center. And I came to fully understand and appreciate the important role that Penn South Social Services and Senior Center both have in the lives of our seniors and our community at large. I look forward to being a member of the Penn South Senior Center in 3 years. I have lived in this co-op since 2003. I am a single mother with 2 children that are both in high school this year. And as a single mother, I fully understand and appreciate how lucky I am to live in Penn South. Without this cooperative to call home, I would never have been able to afford to live in Manhattan, much less Chelsea. And I live on a teacher's salary. Not only has Penn South made living in New York feasible, the community here has been an immense support to me and my children, and we have an active life here with a lot of friends. I'm an actress, and I've worked on and off Broadway and in commercials. I'm also a special education teacher with District 75. I work with children with severe and multiple disabilities, K through 6. I grew up in a union household. My father was a labor organizer in the late 60s, early 70s, Retail Clerks Union in Seattle. And my father had a saying, union is only as strong as its weakest member. I have been and will always be a strong member of Penn South. This is my community, and I am a responsible member of it. And that means that I am compelled to help guard and grow this wonderful place that is Penn South, actively participating in the community building events, knowing my neighbors, and participating in groups responsible for our cooperative, which is why I want to be on the board of directors, which is why I hope you'll vote for me, as well as Tracy Raposo Cook, Morris Benjamin, Martin DeCat, and Bob Sikowski.
Our next speaker is Phineas Antonovsky.
Thank you for coming. Wow, there's so many more people than last year. I'm Phineas Antonovsky. I'm a duly authorized candidate for the board of directors of the housing company registered as Mutual Redevelopment Houses, Inc. This is big time. This isn't warm and fuzzy Penn South Ceramics Club. Our nonprofit executives, all 6 of them together, get almost $600,000 in salary. So, this is a hardball organization. And the board members have what they call the fiduciary responsibility for the co-op. So they make all the decisions. And any suggestion, any advisement from the Co-op Council or shareholders referendum, the shareholders referendums that we have had are all advisory referendums. They are not binding at all, but I mean, fortunately, our board members have, the board has honored the vote, though they did frame the question. I think that I am a voice that should be on the board. I'm a kind of look at problems and figure out a solution kind of thing. And I'm a person on the ground, and I have my voice to the earth. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an educator, I'm not a, and we have so many, we have what, 3 or 4 lawyers, 3 or 4, whatever. But I do look at things, see how things are put together, things are taken apart. I put over $50,000 on top of my purchase price into my apartment and watched everyone like hawks as it was happening. So the first thing, one I'm elected to the board, my focus will be on 3 things. Number 1, pending evictions. I will personally investigate each pending eviction. Eviction should be like last, not the first option. Legal fees. A lot of people have legal fees on their, they can't collect them, but they disturb you. I'll make sure they're taken off if they should be taken off. And last but not least, I'd like to have a voice in some of the decisions that are made, even simple ones. They're going to cut down 5 trees and plant 5 more. Why wasn't it put in the minutes that, hey, anybody interested in trees? You know, let's form a committee. I can just imagine them going to Home Depot, picking up 5 trees and planting them in the spring. Also, the Library and Decoration Committee, how did they come up with just 2 designs and color schemes? We have so much talent in Penn South.
Good evening. My name is Morris Benjamin, and I'm again asking for your support as I run for re-election on the Board of Directors. I've been on the board for about 21 years. I've been president of the board for the last 6. In retirement, when I worked for the Board of Education for 37 years, and the year I retired is the year I became president. So I still am working full-time, just in a different role and a different job. This year, more than ever, I am asking for your support and your support of the other board members that are currently on the board, and Becky, who's running for the board for the first time, as we continue our HVAC project, which those of you in buildings 1, 4, and 5 know what that project entails. Those of you in buildings 2 and 3 are starting to know what it entails, and those of you in the other buildings will learn. As we have learned, as we have moved forward in this project, it's been a tough road, and the term cooperator has really, really come out in this project, because in the first 3 buildings that we have done, we have had 100% cooperation of all people living in those apartments. And it's been a major challenge. It's been extremely disruptive. It's been annoying to many of our cooperators, and yet when we need to get into an apartment, cooperators let us in. And that's the difference, I guess, between living in a real co-op like Penn South and living, I guess, in a private co-op or in a rental. As most of you who have been here more than a year would be aware that last year we negotiated again with the city to extend our contract to 2030 in exchange for an extension of our shelter rent, which keeps our real estate taxes at a very low level. Without those tax breaks, our maintenance would be at least double what it is now. So it's really important that everyone know that at least for the next 18 years, we're in a pretty good position, and hopefully after that, we'll continue the way we have over the last 3 times when we've had an opportunity to vote and change how we do things, to vote to maintain affordable housing in Penn South. We're one of the few co-ops left in New York that continue to do this. And you can congratulate yourselves in doing that. So thank you, and I'll speak a little more later.
Our last speaker is Martin DeCat.
Good evening. I'm amazed how quickly time goes. 3 years ago, I was here sitting in front of you, asking to elect me on the board, and I'm back already. It's fast to have you re-elect me for another term. I'm a strong supporter of Penn South as a limited equity cooperative. I'm an environmentalist and a strong supporter of Penn South's proactive management style. I've lived in Penn South for 21 years. I have a PhD in economics and a master in business administration. I sit on the local community board number 4, and I sit on the board of the Bronx River Alliance. I'm a lifelong teacher. I taught at several colleges, and the last place I taught was in the South Bronx High School before I retired. It's been quite an experience being on the board of Penn South. Much of our work in the last few years, as you've heard from the other speakers, has been about HVAC. How long will the project last? How will it be funded? What materials will be environmentally friendly? I've been quite concerned and remain concerned about maintaining Penn South as a limited equity, affordable housing community. The 18-year time period that we now have is wonderful, but I think we need to look beyond that. My colleagues at 2022 Leaps express similar feelings, and we commit ourselves to educating our neighbors about our limited equity status. I'm proud to be supported by ACC, and while I support the ACC goals, which I do, I reach my own positions in the context of, but independently of, all of these organizations. In the last year, much of my time has been focused on the 50th anniversary of Penn South. We had, with the Parents Committee, a wonderful BBQ in June. Carmen Mateus did a wonderful job on entertainment. I've got to give you a shout out too here. And it was a wonderful day. It took some planning and organizing to get there. As a board member, I remain concerned about these issues, and if you re-elect me, I will continue to work hard for our wonderful Penn South. As one of the previous speakers said, oh my goodness, what a place we live in Chelsea. I want to be on the board to help these other candidates and the other board members work to have a well-run cooperative, have good communication with the shareholders, among the shareholders and with the board, and remain a limited equity co-op for a long time to come. So I'm asking for you to vote for Tracy, for Bob, for Becky, Morris, and me, and thank you a lot.
Thank you very much. Now we will have the question and answer session.
Tom Rosenthal, 2B. How do you feel about a dog run on 28th Street between 8th and 9th and that vacant lot between the two buildings?
On 28th Street between the vacant lot, help me out.
Yeah, on 28th Street between buildings 9 and 10.
Oh, that area where the trailers have been stored for a while,
Right.
and is normally a grassy area.
Yeah.
It's an area that I had a picnic on some time ago, and I was on the grass, and I shouldn't have been on, right, Larry?
That's right.
It's a lot that. How do I feel about a dog run anywhere on the co-op? I haven't thought about it at all, Tom. An interesting question. I don't own a dog, and nobody's talked about it that I know of. We're just lucky enough in the last few years, and I think we made a correct decision to officially recognize dogs in Penn South. That accomplished a couple of things. It made all the illegal people having dogs legal, which was a good thing. And it also made it possible for us to ask questions like the one you're asking, to regulate dogs and to think about these issues seriously. I would not think that whole area would be good for a dog run. I know there's a dog run down at the end of 23rd Street, but that's kind of far away, right? Honestly, I have no idea what I think of a dog run. And I think I'll let it go at that.
The next question will be for Morris Benjamin.
Hi. I'm Samuel Mendez from Building 3817J. And last year in September, we had the opportunity to exchange apartments prior to the increase, either to move to a larger apartment or a smaller apartment. I was wondering if we're going to get the same opportunity with the same perks as that time.
You know, as of September, the equity has increased. So if you're looking to move to a smaller apartment, you do have perks. I mean, if you move down from a 3-bedroom to a 2-bedroom, you don't have to pay triple equity. If you want to move up or lateral, then you will pay the increased equity. The question on the equity has come up. It was a very difficult decision for the board to triple the equity. It wasn't something that we did lightly, and there was some opposition in the discussion, but at the end, it was a decision that we made to maintain for current cooperators less of an increase in maintenance, so that when the HVAC project, which was going to cost us $100 million, had to get paid for, the only thing we had to do was do the 10% increase, which you get back in your equity without a maintenance increase. If we had gone in other directions, it's possible that there would have been larger increases. So it's unfortunate that we had to go to a triple equity, but it's the direction we felt would be more equitable across the board.
The next question will be for Phineas Antonovsky.
My name's Elise Brule. I live in Building 2A. And you mentioned about the decor, about having more than 2 choices.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? That is my exact point. There's so many things that have happened here. I mean, Mr. Benjamin, our great president, he touts all the accomplishments that have happened, and everything is so great except for sweating the details. I mean, we had windows. The old windows were single pane. They were energy inefficient, but they were fun to use. I had a crank in the living room, and the thing turned out. And they turned the whole place upside down, the whole complex, because they had to change every window. Every community room was stacked high with windows. They came to every apartment and measured every window. I don't know why they measured every window. I don't understand it, but they did. People got paid to measure every window, and every window was replaced. And I paid almost $3,000 for the windows, and I can't open or close them. And if I was given a choice, I would have paid another $1,000 and got the kind that gets a little darker when you crank it. Same thing with the elevators. We had elevators that had a nice enamel finish. You could bring things in and out. There wasn't really a problem. But they were a bit slow, and the biggest problem was that there was just one on a floor. So sometimes it would take me an hour to get upstairs if the elevator was out. So now we have Formica, precious Formica. So we have to put in a deposit, and we have to. I mean, so many things. We're a cooperative, but it's not. It's some things. The clubs are cooperative. The rest of the stuff is top-down corporation. They make the decisions, and we have to live with it. And we could just put out a thing. We need some signs. Here are the legal requirements of them. Let's have a contest and have a big party. I'm sure we wouldn't have to pay so many thousands for a consultant. And as I said before, all right, we have 5 trees down. I know there are a lot of people that are very concerned about the type of tree that they're going to spend the next 30 years sitting under. Well, I mean, I don't know much about trees, but I think fruit trees are pretty cool. Thank you.
Our next question is for Becky Killey.
My name is Kim Oliver. I just moved in. I moved into Building 4 and in July, and I cannot believe how wonderful living here is. Penn South is just fantastic. I've lived in a co-op my entire life since I was born. The first co-op I lived in was similar to this and went fair market, unfortunately. One of my frustrations has been every time I call to get information, I'm never given a straight answer, or I'm referred to somebody else, or they don't call me back. And as a new shareholder, I'm kind of frustrated, and I don't know where to go.
They're open late on Thursday nights down at the office. I would go in. Always best to go in physically and say, I need to speak to somebody about this. Who do I speak to? And then you'll have an opportunity to face, and you'll have a name, and you'll have a clear idea of what it is, and you'll get your answer. They're great. So I 100% recommend walking in and getting that answer. Oh, okay. I can talk about anything I'd like now. Well, welcome to the cooperative, for one thing. It is a fantastic place, and we're very lucky to be here. And one of the things I did not mention is I do agree with the ACC 100%, limited equity, retaining that. I've heard people come up to me and say, oh, you know, if we went private, we'd make a buck. You wouldn't really make a buck. And what would you buy with it? You wouldn't get what you think you would. And this is an incredible place to live. We have everything, and it's so well run. And you wouldn't gain anything by going private. We need to retain our limited equity status. We need to look beyond 18 years from now. I 100% agree with that. I want this place around for my grandkids or whoever's lucky enough to get a home here. That's it.
Our next speaker is Robert Sikorsky.
Rosalie Regal, Building 4. Bob, not only for you, but for all board members. So I live in Building 4, and there's quite a number of problems with the fan coil units from Train. Parts are defective, many units are not working, cooperators are going crazy, and I'm one of them. So what I would like to propose, and I hope that this happens, that trained technicians come to every single apartment and check out these units, and when parts are defective, make sure that we're getting new parts from the factory. The quality control has been dreadful, even from the outside panels. Instead of cooperators having to call HVAC office and make appointments and be so frustrated that they are not coming, or that they come late, or they're not able to come, that a concerted effort is made by the board to have every single apartment looked at and taken care of in a very competent way. This is like impossible.
Okay, I know it's a statement, but it's a fair statement, because we spent a lot of time on the board talking about the problems we've had with Train and with various contractors. And on the board, we talked about additional supervisory steps we're going to have to take with Train to make sure things are installed properly, to make sure they're shipped properly, to make sure that the actual construction, because we're buying enough of these items, that they can actually alter the construction so that it'll be easier to maintain and to install, and to come up with new ideas for instructing people on how to use the units even that work. Assuming the units work, you have to know how to use them. And at first we thought that handouts would be sufficient, and eventually we said no. We saw that the complexity was too much. Not that it's that complex, but it's nice to have videos. We decided to go to a video approach at some point, where you're going to have a video instruction on how to use these.
The question is, are they coming to our apartments? That's the question.
To fix them.
Well, they're coming to everybody's apartment, yes.
Our last question is for Tracy Raposo Cook.
I'm Paul Marcellini, 6B, 12A. Would you be in favor of spending money to have more comfortable chairs rather than the benches in our lobbies for all our residents to sit in during the day?
Well, I know I live in Building 7, and we have a lot of people who sit in the lobby. They haven't complained about the comfort of the seating, just that there isn't enough. I think that we could do a survey and see if that's something that enough people would want to do, and we could do that. But I think that we'd have to see if there were enough people to warrant us spending money on that. Since I have some extra time, I wanted to address some common misconceptions. Since I've been on the board, a lot of people have come up to me and told me 3 different misconceptions. One is that the ACC controls the board of directors. I have been on the board for 3 years, and 3 years ago I was endorsed by the ACC. Up until recently, when I received a phone call from the ACC getting endorsed again, I've had no contact with the ACC. The ACC does not tell the board what policies to make or what changes they want to see happen on the board. So it's a misconception. Another misconception is that, and Bob talked about this a little bit, is that the board approves everything that's put in front of us. Another thing is that we turn our backs on cooperators who make complaints about management. In the 3 years I've been on the board, we've only had one complaint about management. We thoroughly looked into it. We talked about it in length and had several meetings regarding it. So we do not turn our backs on cooperators. And also, like Bob had said, you guys see the final outcome, the board minutes that say we're all unanimously in favor of most things. What you don't see are what could be months of deliberating and changing and tweaking things so 15 of us are comfortable in voting yes on a proposal. So I just wanted to clear those misconceptions. Thank you.
The question and answer period is now over, and we're going to go in reverse order from the question and answer period, starting with Tracy for closing statements. So Tracy has the first closing statement.
Okay, before I forget, I just wanted to state that I'm dedicated to keeping Penn South affordable, as well as having affordable services for everyone. I also want to make sure that I endorse Bob, Becky, Marty, and Morris. And I'd like to say in closing that I hope that with all that I have done for you in this community, that I've proven that I have the vision, compassion, and drive it takes to make me a good board member. I also hope that I've proven with all of my accomplishments that I have the skills needed to get the job done. And I hope that with all that of my work and commitment to you in this community, that I have earned your trust. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Robert Sikorsky.
Okay. Well, I'd like to just finish up on that train comment, is that there's a lot of emphasis being put on train and a lot of meetings with train to get them to work right and to work better. So we haven't, don't give up on the board and management pushing train. We had some comments also about evictions, and Penn South has painfully few evictions. And when you have evictions, they're only for cause. And usually, say we have a hoarder case, we, instead of actually evicting someone, we end up using that as a device to make them not be a hoarder, so they won't affect neighbors with bringing in rodents, with bringing in bugs. And it's a vehicle to help the person. And in the end, the person doesn't get evicted. The situation gets corrected. Evictions that we have are painfully few, so it tends not to be a problem. What we have also is a special community at Penn South. This is a community where everybody looks after one another, we're all concerned about one another, and we all want to keep this community going into the future. It was interesting, in the Times today, I was reading, there was an article referencing a study from Harvard that says one of the problems with a lot of the major cities in the U.S. is that they're squeezing the middle class and the working class out of the cities, and where are they going to get the people to work, to provide services, to do all the things? And they're pushing so far out they can't commute back into the city. Well, the answer is they need more housing establishments, more housing communities, more cooperatives like Penn South, not just in New York, not just in Manhattan, but across the country. This has to be a movement. It has to be made into a movement. And my time is up. Well, the movement is not up, though. The movement is not up. We have to keep this movement going because the country needs us.
Our next speaker is Becky Killey.
I 100% agree with you. We've got to build up, not out, and we need lots more places like Penn South in New York City and throughout to help bring back the middle class and the working class. This is integral to the city functioning and not becoming just the very rich and the very poor. I also wanted to say that I would thank the ACC for helping me do this. You don't do what the ACC says. They interview you to see if your thoughts and your politics coincide with what their beliefs are. And primarily about remaining limited equity. And as you said, it's really integral to keeping working class and middle class people here. We have the most fantastic place. People care about each other. They know about each other. The seating in the lobby, I think it's a great idea to add more seating in the lobby, because then people are communicating. They're together. They're meeting in the lobby. It's part of knowing your neighbors and getting to know your community. That's a key part of the healthy, wonderful place that is Penn South. I have 1 minute left. I have really nothing else to say but that I hope you'll vote for me, that I definitely support the other ACC candidates, Tracy, Rob, Marty, and Morris. And I'm very excited to be a part of this board if I get elected. I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Phineas Antonovsky.
A couple of things. It's unfortunate that about 7 minutes before 8, this meeting will be over. I think a lot of issues could be raised. I don't know why this meeting is so short. But we just heard about how the legal evictions are as a last resort, were just to intimidate people, and that most people do not get evicted. That may be true, but the legal fees accrue on their rent bills. I mean, I happen to be old-time lefty, have a lot of leftist sympathies. I went to a couple of the Occupy Wall Street events, and I'm fortunate to have the humongous 19th floor terrace. So I see rope lights on everybody's balcony and terrace, and it's festive and it's fun. So I wrote along the top, along my terrace, you could hardly see it from the ground, liberate, cancel all debt. And this went on for, it was up. Some people, I take some classes at FIT. Everybody thought it was pretty cool. Some people came by, took a picture. Suddenly one morning, a knock on my door. It's a process server. Without any warning, I got a preliminary notice of grounds for eviction because I was making alterations. I had to fix the sign, a notice, an advertisement, lettering. So I took the sign down, and there was a $250 fee, legal fee. It costs money to have a process server, a lawyer write a letter, and a process server serve it. So they put it on my equity bill. I mean, I was outraged. I contacted the city, and the city wrote back and said they've considered your request, and they've kindly decided to not to pursue that. Kindly, I would like to take something like that to the Supreme Court. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. I can understand you don't like the sign, tell me, I'll take it down. Don't take me to court.
Our next speaker is Morris Benjamin.
Hi again. Just to address the issue of train that Rosalie had a question about, there will be a whole team here in a week from train going door to door, apartment by apartment, checking the systems to verify that they work accurately, and if they are not working the way they should be, to make corrections while they're in your apartment. For those that work, they'll be coming on Saturday or Sundays. They will contact you to make those appointments. But we are working really hard with Train to get things done that should have already been done. We had a long meeting yesterday, and I think most of the issues were resolved, but not totally. I read the emails back and forth, and there are still some issues out there. I need to indicate that this is a board of 15, and everybody really works hard. Walter Mankoff, who's not running, but who is chair of the HVAC committee, has done an amazing job. Without his input, I don't think we'd be where we are. The management staff that don't get paid well enough for their job. No one that works in Penn South really works 9 to 5. You see employees, management, they're here at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. When pipes break, they're out there at 2 in the morning. So people that work in Penn South, even though it's a job, take it as more than a job. Okay, so I am asking for your support, and the ACC supported candidates of Marty, Tracy, Becky, and Bob for reelection. Becky as a new candidate who I believe will be an excellent addition to the board. Thank you.
Our last speaker of the evening is Martin DeCat.
Thank you. I'm proud to be running for the board again. This is an extremely active board. Our meetings, at our meetings, we discuss, as you've been hearing, issues in depth. We often come out with one voice, but not before a great deal of deliberation, clarification, and revision of our positions. It's compromise at its best. It serves our cooperative well. Sometimes in the minutes you'll see dissenting votes. Triple equity is one of them. Morris mentioned it. And I was one of the dissenting I was the one dissenting voice. More often you'll see consensus. And that's to your advantage. That's a good thing. We've developed a position. In the last 3 years, I've spent time working with ACC and with a relatively new organization, 2022 LEAPS. Both organizations continue to work to educate ourselves and our fellow cooperators about the importance of our limited equity status. A great deal of the board's time, as you have heard, is spent on the HVAC project. Our concerns have been environmental, not only asbestos removal, but the nature of the materials used and how friendly they will be when they are in our apartments. We have had to worry about the logic and reliability of many of the presentations that we've heard from a herd of prospective contractors. We have to discuss the role of the board as it is a policy body and a policy-making body as opposed to the management, which is an operational organization. I've spent a lot of time working on the 50th Anniversary Journal, which is still to come out. I took a walk around the perimeter and looked at the names of stores, and we sent letters to them, and many of them actually have subscriptions to the journal. It turned out to be a good walk. I look forward to your support and to your support for the good candidates on the ACC slate, Morris, Tracy, Bob, Becky, and me, all working to keep our wonderful Penn South limited equity cooperative community. Thanks.
Thank you to all the candidates.